Shocking salaries in San Francisco's nonprofit sector. Recent reports reveal that executives leading homeless aid and other nonprofits can earn up to $680,000 per year. That's more than double the median household income in the Bay Area and far above the average donor or community member's expectations. These figures raise important questions. How are these salaries set? Where does the money come from? And what impact do such high executive pay levels have on fairness and morale within the organizations? While nonprofit boards argue that competitive salaries are necessary to attract and retain top talent, critics highlight the growing gap between CEOs and frontline staff, many of whom struggle to make ends meet in one of the most expensive cities in the U.S. In this video, we'll break down the story in 5 slides. Shocking salaries, the top earners, sources of funding, salary-setting mechanisms, and the ongoing controversy and criticism. Each slide will unpack the data, contextualize the issues, and discuss the implications for the nonprofit sector and the communities they serve.
San Francisco needs to find a way to save hundreds of millions of dollars. This week, city leaders will discuss options during a public hearing. ABC 7 News reporter Tara Campbell shows us some of the programs that could face major cuts.
These programs are critical and absolutely life-saving.
Pressure is being put on San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie to reverse course on a handful of proposed budget cuts. To balance a roughly $820 million budget deficit, some local nonprofits could lose more than $9.5 million in funding. Everything from at-risk youth services to free legal services are facing cuts.
It's plain and simple. People are going to die from domestic violence disputes. Our LGBTQ teens are going to be without support.
And that concern played out at City Hall last week. People speaking out at the Budget and Appropriations Committee meeting.
I am a survivor. I am someone who is trying to make something of myself. And when you take away programs for people like me, you cause problems.
Similar demonstrations are expected when city leaders meet again on Wednesday.
I've seen so many community members, in completely desperate situations, and coming through our doors.
At Open Door Legal, they say the proposed cuts would force the agency to lay off employees and close an office.
When we kind of take away legal representation, from people who can't afford it, we guarantee that low-income and marginalized communities will systematically lose their cases, be denied their rights, have their assets stolen, and become homeless in many cases.
People are really concerned that at the time when we're under attack from the federal government, these exact programs are under attack, that San Francisco, instead of being a leader and stepping up and defending SF values, is doubling down.
The mayor has until June 1st to present his budget proposal. We reached out for comment on the proposed cuts and haven't heard back. Tara Campbell, ABC 7 News.
The headline is clear. Some San Francisco nonprofit executives are earning as much as $680,000 annually. The average salary for top executives in these organizations is around $300,000, far higher than the median household income in the Bay Area, which hovers around $120,000. Some nonprofit leaders earn more than double what a typical family makes, prompting questions about whether public and donor funds are being used equitably. This trend is particularly striking in the context of homeless aid and social service organizations, where frontline staff often earn modest wages and operate under challenging conditions. The juxtaposition of extremely high executive pay with lower frontline salaries can create tension and raise concerns about organizational priorities. The figures also reflect broader changes in nonprofit compensation across major U.S. cities. With competition for skilled leaders, boards argue that higher salaries are necessary to attract talent capable of managing complex, multi-million-dollar organizations. Yet critics question whether the public and donors truly understand how much of their contributions are going to executive pay. Ultimately, this slide sets the stage. The salaries are eye-popping, the averages far exceed local norms, and the issue sparks debate about fairness, transparency, and accountability. Let's look at the top executives in San Francisco nonprofits. Haluna Health CEO earns $680,000 per year. Second Harvest of Silicon Valley CEO takes home $438,000 per year. Destination Home CEO earns $392,000 per year. Many other top NGO executives earn salaries well above $300,000 annually, positioning them in a rarefied compensation bracket, even by private sector standards. These figures are particularly striking because they often exceed what many corporate or tech executives might earn for similar organizational size and responsibility. Nonprofits argue that high-level executive roles require complex management skills, fundraising expertise, and strategic oversight, justifying competitive pay. However, critics note that such high compensation may alienate staff and volunteers, creating a perception that the organization prioritizes executive wealth over mission-driven impact. Transparency in reporting and clear justification for pay levels are essential to maintaining trust with both donors and the communities served. Understanding these salaries requires examining funding sources. Nonprofits receive money from several key channels: government grants and contracts. For example, San Francisco City contracts with nonprofits totaled $1.8 billion in 2023. Donations and private funding. Individual donors, philanthropic foundations, and corporate contributions make up a significant portion of the revenue stream. Revenue from services Haluna Health alone generates around $670 million per year, demonstrating that some nonprofits operate with multi-million-dollar budgets that can support executive pay at higher levels. While funding sources justify the ability to pay competitive salaries, it also raises questions about how much of donated or public funds should go toward compensation versus programs and services. Stakeholders often scrutinize this balance closely, especially in sectors like homeless aid, where resources directly affect vulnerable populations. In most nonprofits, compensation is determined by the board of directors. Boards are responsible for ensuring that pay is competitive, fair, and aligned with organizational goals. Experts argue that fair pay is necessary to attract experienced leaders capable of managing large budgets, staff, and programs. Executive talent in the nonprofit sector is scarce, and competitive compensation can prevent high turnover and ensure organizational stability. However, boards must balance this with transparency and accountability, particularly when managing public funds or donor contributions. Best practices include publishing salary ranges, justifying pay decisions, and ensuring that compensation aligns with both mission impact and market standards. This slide highlights that salary setting is a deliberate process, influenced by the need to attract talent, but also scrutinized for fairness and ethical considerations. Finally, the controversy around high NGO salaries centers on equity and organizational morale. The CEO versus staff pay gap is widening, raising concerns about fairness and internal equity. Frontline workers often earn far less and may struggle to live in expensive cities like San Francisco, despite their critical role in delivering services. Critics call for better staff support, improved wages, and more equitable compensation structures, alongside high executive pay. This debate is not just about numbers. It touches on mission integrity, public trust, and organizational culture. Nonprofits operate in a sector where accountability to the public is paramount, and large salary gaps can undermine confidence in the organization's priorities. The discussion is ongoing, and as attention grows, we may see more transparency initiatives, salary benchmarking, and policies aimed at balancing competitive executive pay with frontline equity.